Hello everyone. Today what we're going to learn about is these two verbs, saber and conocer. I hope you remember this from last year, but if not, it's okay. We're going to learn it like it's brand new. Saber. Oh, it means to know. All right, and this is how it's conjugated. So we have in the yo form, say. S-E accent mark. Don't forget that accent mark because it changes the entire meaning of the word if it's not there. Then we have tú sabes. All right. Él sabe. Nosotros sabemos. Vosotros sabéis and ellos saben. All right. So looks like we have an irregular yo form with an accent mark, and our vosotros form has an accent mark. So don't forget to put those accent marks on those two. All right. Also, we have an irregular yo form. All right. Everything else though is regular. So once we get past that irregular yo form, all you have to do is just take off the er and then add your regular present tense endings. And note that this is conjugated in the present tense. This is not in the preterite. All right. Let's take a look at conocer. Conocer also means to know, okay? This is how it's conjugated. So, the yo form is conozco. Be sure to remember to include that Z. That Z is there just for pronunciation purposes, okay? So if it wasn't there, it would be conozco, which does not sound like conocer at all. So they put the Z in there for the pronunciation, and that's it, okay? All right, but it is irregular. You do have to spell it correctly, so make sure that you are spelling it correctly when you write these notes down. All right, then we have the to form, which is conoces. The nosotros form is conocemos, vosotros is conocéis, and then ellos is conocen. All right? So, again, like I mentioned before, both of these conjugations are in the present tense. These are not conjugated in the preterite tense, okay? So be careful and definitely write a note saying that this is in the present tense and not in the preterite, okay? Also, like I mentioned before, the yo form is irregular, all right? So you have to spell this correctly, otherwise it's not right. Once you get past that yo form, everything else is conjugated normally. So you're just going to take the er off and then add the endings for whatever subject you're conjugating the verb for, all right? So, since they both mean to know, we need to know when to use saber or conocer. Okay, so when to use saber. Saber will be used to talk about factual information that you know, right? So let's take a look at some examples. So we have sé cuánto cuesta el bate. I know how much the bat costs. Since we have this factual information about how much the bat costs, you're going to use saber, all right? Okay, another example. Then we have, ¿sabes a qué hora empieza el partido? So, do you know what time the game begins? Again, this is factual information. The game starts at 7, okay? It's a fact, all right? Now, this is a big hint. When a sentence contains a question word, you will use saber. All right, so note here in the first sentence, cuánto is a question word. It means how much or how many, okay? Since we have cuánto in the sentence, we automatically know that we have to use the verb saber, all right? Same thing with the second one. A qué hora is in the sentence, all right? A qué hora is a question word. At what time? Since we have that in our sentence, we know that we have to use saber, all right? There's another case whenever you use saber, and that's in order to tell someone that you know how to do something, or tell someone that somebody else knows how to do something, okay? We call that saber plus infinitive. So basically what you do is just conjugate the verb saber and put that infinitive right behind it. So if I wanted to say, Nicholas knows how to skate very well, I would say, Nicolás sabe patinar muy bien. I hope we all remember our infinitives in Spanish all end in AR, ER, and IR, and they're just the unconjugated verbs, okay? So, in order to say that someone knows how to do something, you will take the conjugated form of saber and then leave the other verb, so what they know how to do very well, or not so well, or whatever, leave the other verb, though, in its infinitive form, so you don't have to conjugate those verbs. Okay, so you're only conjugating one verb whenever you have a two-verb structure, all right, like the saber plus infinitive. Okay? Now, moving on to conocer. You're going to use conocer when you want to say that you are familiar with a person or place. All right? So, for example, I have conozco a tu hermano David. That is a person, right? So, I know your brother David. We have to use conocer. Another example, mi prima conoce Santo Domingo. Since Santo Domingo is a place, we're going to use conocer again. So, my cousin knows or is familiar with Santo Domingo. Right? There's one other time that we're going to use, conocer. That is when we're wanting to talk about meeting someone for the first time. When we talk about meeting someone for the first time, you're going to use conocer. All right? So, for example, if I wanted to say we want to meet the players, in Spanish you would say queremos conocer a los jugadores. All right? So we want to get familiar with them, like understand them, know them. All right? To meet them. Okay? Okay. So I've created 5 sentences. I want you to kind of use your brains a little bit here and decide whether you're going to use a form of saber or a form of conocer. All right, let's take a look at the first one. So we have Catalina blank. So we know that what's going to go in there is either sabe or conoce, right? Since it's the L or the ella form. So Catalina blank, que el equipo va a ganar. So she knows that the team is going to win. All right? Which one will we use? Will we use sabe or conoce? All right. For those of you that picked sabe, you are correct. All right? This is a fact. She knows that the team is going to win. All right? Again, we're using saber with facts. Okay? Also, K is a question word, so that gives us a huge hint whenever we're looking at the sentence. All right, next one. Yo blank a todos los estudiantes. So I know all of the students. Would it be conozco or sé? If you chose conozco, you are right. Because we're saying that I know all the students. The students are people. Anytime you have people in a sentence and you're saying that you know them, all right? Not know of them or not know how many there are, but know them, know those people, you will use conocer, all right? In this case, we're going to use conozco to match yo. All right, next one. Mariana y yo, something, ¿cuántos estudiantes hay en FCS? All right, so Mariana and I know how many students there are in FCS. Will it be sabemos or conocemos? If you chose sabemos, you are correct. Because we have a question word in the sentence, cuántos, and we're referring to factual information this time. Even though there are estudiantes in the sentence, and those refer to people, what Mariana and I are saying is that we know how many students there are. Okay? We're not familiar with them necessarily. We're not BFF-RELs, but we know how many students there are in the school. Okay? Next one. Felipe, something, ¿dónde está el baño? So Felipe knows where the bathroom is. Okay? Will that be sabe or conoce? If you chose sabe, you are correct. All right, even though this has a place in it, all right, which usually will trigger conocer, because we have this question word donde, we automatically have to use sabe, all right? This is factual information. It's where the bathroom is within the school or within the house, okay? They can give you exact directions to there, for example. That's factual information. All right, next one. Mi mamá something, Madrid, España. So my mom knows Madrid, Spain. Okay? So will that be sabe or conoce? If you chose conoce, you are correct. Why? Because we're saying that my mom is familiar with Madrid, España, so Madrid, Spain. All right? When we have this place without a question word, we're saying she's familiar with the city. She knows how the people are, what the restaurants are like, all that other stuff. Okay? We're not saying that she knows exactly where it is on a map, which I hope she does, but we're not saying that. Okay? So I hope this helped you with saber and conocer, how to conjugate the verbs, how to understand when they're used in a sentence, and be expecting your first freno over these on when you get back to school. Adios!